So, uh, waking up in a world where suddenly everyone from teenagers doing their algebra homework to grandparents planning cross-country road trips is talking to machines.
Yeah, and the machines are actually talking back.
Right. It's this incredibly strange psychological reality we're just, living in right now.
Yeah.
Like, we went from interacting with computers through rigid mechanical clicks to having these deeply fluent, shockingly natural conversations.
It's a massive shift. I mean, it's a profound shift in the human experience because for decades we interacted with technology purely on its terms, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We had to learn to double click. We learned to navigate these drop down menus, type very specific syntax into search bars, and now the technology is interacting with us on our terms.
Which is wild to think about. And that's why today's deep dive is tailored specifically for you, the curious learner who is just trying to make sense of all this. We know you want to understand the actual human impact of this huge technological shift, but, you don't want to get bogged down in dense engineering jargon. So today we are unpacking a really fascinating source book from Castlemonk Digest.
Right. It's called AI for Humans, Understanding the New World Without the Jargon.
Such a good read.
Yeah.
And our goal here is to figure out, why this specific revelation feels so deeply unsettling compared to everything before it. We'll look at the hidden mechanics that made it possible and how changing your own behavior can unlock its real value.
Yeah, and I think the best place to start is with that fundamental disconnect between what we expected artificial intelligence to look like and how it actually showed up.
The Hollywood lie versus the psychological
And
reality.
exactly, that's how the source book frames it. We were conditioned by pop culture for, half a century to expect something highly physical.
Oh, totally. Like we watched The Terminator, we watched The Matrix, read Isaac Asimov.
Right, we were basically programmed to expect the AI revolution to look like cold humanoid robots literally kicking down the door.
Like it would be this mechanical disruption we could see walking down the street, taking over factories or, physical infrastructure.
But the cognitive revolution is completely invisible. It didn't arrive as a Chrome skeleton. It arrived quietly in a blank text box on your screen.
Which is so much less cinematic.
It is. But because it arrived as a text box, the barrier to entry just collapsed overnight. You didn't have to learn a complicated new machine language or, take a computer science course.
Because the machine had finally learned our oldest technology, human conversation.
Yes.
And people often compare this to the invention of the smartphone or the internet, treating it as just another standard tech evolution.
Yeah.
But I really push back on that.
How so?
Well, if I use a traditional tool like a hammer, or if I type numbers into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, those tools never trigger a social response in me. I don't, say thank you to my hammer after driving a nail.
Right, you don't form a bond with it.
No. I don't feel emotionally validated by a spreadsheet when it calculates my taxes. Traditional tools don't parse human intent. But AI, it's the first tool we've ever created that projects an incredibly powerful psychological illusion of a relationship.
And that distinction, that's the key to understanding this entire era we are entering.
Yeah.
The core emotional contradiction of the modern AI experience is that, logically, your intellect knows it's just software.
Right.
You know there is no ghost in the machine. It's a mathematical model predicting words based on massive data sets. But human beings are inherently social creatures.
We're biologically wired for it.
Exactly. Millions of years of evolution have wired us to respond to language, to empathy, communication.
So our brains they literally aren't evolved to distinguish fluent text from human intent.
Precisely. If something responds to your specific questions, adapts to your unique tone, and, patiently explains complex ideas back to you, your social wiring just takes over.
It bypasses the logical brain completely.
It does. It forces you to emotionally react to it as if it actually understands you. And that is why this feels so uniquely unsettling.
Because it touches our identity.
Yes, it challenges what we thought was exclusively human territory. Language, reasoning, explanation, those were the things that separated us from our tools. Now the tool operates in that exact same territory.
It raises the biggest underlying question, really. If AI is at its mechanical core just predicting the next word in a sequence, how did it suddenly become so remarkably fluent?
Right, how does it trick our biology?
Yeah. How did it bypass our logical brains? And the source material traces this massive leap back to a very quiet, almost invisible moment in 2017.
Yeah, a research paper published by researchers at Google.
And it had this deceptively philosophical, almost poetic title for a technical document.
Attention is all you need.
which is such a great title
It really is, and that single paper fundamentally altered the trajectory of technology.
because it introduced what's called the transformer architecture. And to explain how this breakthrough works, without getting bogged down in the jargon of neural networks, the source book uses this brilliant analogy of a crowded room.
The cocktail party analogy, right?
Yeah. Imagine you're walking into a massive, bustling cocktail party. There are dozens of conversations happening. Music is playing in the corner. Glasses are clinking at the bar.
It's chaotic.
Very. But your human brain doesn't process every single sound sequentially, one after the other. It doesn't listen to the glass clink, then the music, then a word from the person next to you. It filters.
It evaluates everything at once.
Exactly. It can focus its attention on one specific voice across the room while simultaneously evaluating the context of the entire environment.
And that's exactly what changed for the machines.
Yeah.
Because before that 2017 paper, older language models processed information strictly sequentially, literally one word at a time. So if they were reading a long paragraph or trying to hold a conversation with you, by the time they got to the end of your prompt, they had essentially forgotten the context from the beginning.
Like amnesiacs.
Exactly like amnesiacs. They couldn't track complex relationships, pronouns, or themes over long stretches of text. But what the transformer breakthrough did was allow the AI to evaluate the context of every single word in a prompt simultaneously rather than sequentially.
It assigned a mathematical weight to how every word related to every other word all at once.
Yes. And just giving the machine the ability to understand context changed the entire game.
It's amazing.
Because when a system can maintain complex context, you can feed it exponentially more data. Researchers realized this architecture was highly scalable.
So they just threw power at it.
They threw exponentially more computing power and exponentially more reading material at it. The models got larger, and suddenly these unexpected capabilities of reasoning and fluency just started emerging.
It is wild to think about the physical reality hiding behind that simple blinking text box on your screen. Like, to do that simultaneous math requires a staggering industrial-scale infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking massive data centers covering acres of land, enormous energy grids draining local power supplies, and like a literal geopolitical arms race for the microchips to make it all run.
It's a massive physical footprint.
But for you, the listener, sitting at your kitchen table typing a question about your garden, you don't see any of that. It just feels like pure magic.
But the danger is that the feeling of magic actually creates a trap.
Oh, definitely.
Because the machine now understands context so beautifully, and its interface is just a blank box. It feels like an oracle. It feels like it should just inherently know what you want.
Right.
But to actually get value out of this infrastructure, you have to completely unlearn how you've been taught to interact with computers.
We have to stop treating AI like it's a search engine. I mean, we have 20 years of muscle memory built up from using Google.
And search engines taught us to rely entirely on retrieval. The behavior is deeply ingrained. You type 3 or 4 fragmented keywords, hit enter, the machine retrieves a list of links, and then you do the heavy lifting of clicking through them and synthesizing it all in your head.
Right. But AI is fundamentally not about retrieval.
No, it is an engine of collaboration.
The difference in practice is massive. The source book highlights what happens when you treat AI like a vending machine versus treating it like a collaborative partner.
That example is so telling.
Yeah, if you give it a bad search engine style prompt, something like, give me business ideas, you're just dropping into your coin and pushing a button.
You're hoping for a snack.
Right. But the machine has no context. It lacks constraints. So it defaults to the statistical average of the internet and drops out a totally generic, useless list. It'll tell you to start a blog or sell things online. It's garbage.
Because give me business ideas relies on the machine to guess your identity, guess your capabilities, and your goals.
It's lazy.
It is. Compare that to the collaborative prompt the sourcebook highlights. I'm a 52-year-old aerospace project manager with 15 years of experience in operations and complex documentation. I want a side hustle. I can start with low upfront cost, preferably using AI tools to scale my effort, and I only have 5 hours a week to dedicate to this. Give me 3 specific ideas that fit my background.
The output from that second prompt changes entirely.
Completely.
Because the machine is forced into a highly specific corner of its mathematical model.
Wrong.
It adapts to those constraints.
It creates something bespoke. And the realization a lot of people have when they see this contrast is that the limitation they're experiencing with AI isn't the machine's intelligence.
The limitation is our own communication skills.
Yes.
That was such an aha moment for me. The AI ruthlessly exposes our own vague, lazy thinking. Like, if we
Yeah.
don't actually know what we want, or if we're too lazy to articulate the boundaries of our problem, the AI cannot read our minds to give it to us.
And that is exactly why the term prompt engineering does a huge disservice to the public.
It sounds so technical.
It sounds like an overly technical discipline that requires a computer science degree. It scares the average user away. But at its core, it is simply clear, structured human communication.
Right, it's just talking.
Think about it. If you walk into a doctor's office, sit on the exam table, and just say, "Help me," they can't do anything with that.
No, they need details.
They need symptoms, timeline, and context. AI operates the exact same way. It rewards clarity, it demands constraints, and most importantly, it requires iterative follow-up questions.
Look back and forth.
Yeah. When used correctly, it doesn't just hand you answers, it actually acts as a mirror that trains you to be a clearer, sharper thinker.
And once you master this new conversational literacy, the friction of learning and doing completely vanishes. And the sourcebook makes this really interesting argument that this zero-friction reality breaks our traditional systems of education and work.
Because those systems are entirely built around friction.
Exactly.
Our traditional institutions were constructed on the assumption that expertise and explanation are scarce resources. In a school, one teacher has to distribute their limited attention across 30 students. In an office, getting help with a complex task requires interrupting a colleague and taking up their valuable time.
Think about the classic scenario of a student sitting at their desk at midnight. They're totally stuck in their math homework.
We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in the past, that friction was a hard wall. They either gave up in frustration, cried over the textbook, or copied a friend's work the next morning on the bus.
Yeah.
Now, that same student opens the AI and types, "I am terrible at algebra, I'm completely lost, explain fractions to me using pizza slices." The AI does it instantly. The student can reply, "I still don't get it, try again."
And the AI doesn't sigh.
Right. It doesn't roll its eyes. It doesn't judge the student for being slow. It provides infinite, untiring patience, which creates a level of emotional safety for learning that simply didn't exist before.
And the importance of that emotional safety, it cannot be overstated.
It's huge.
In a crowded physical classroom, the social risk of asking a quote-unquote stupid question is incredibly high for a teenager. Students would rather stay confused than look foolish in front of their peers.
Yeah.
The AI completely removes the social risk of curiosity.
And we see the exact same dynamic playing out in the office. Like an overwhelmed worker sits through a chaotic, hour-long virtual meeting where everyone is talking over each other.
It's awful.
Right. But instead of spending the next hour trying to decipher their messy notes, they dump the raw transcript into the AI and type, "Summarize the key decisions made here, assign action items based on who spoke, and draft a polite follow-up email to the team."
And seconds later, it's done.
The friction is gone. The task is completed perfectly. But, and this is a big but, Bay, if the machine can instantly do the math homework or instantly write the complex corporate memo, aren't we just outsourcing our cognitive muscles to the machine? Doesn't a frictionless world just make us fundamentally lazy?
Well, that is the core fear driving much of the anxiety around this technology right now. But we have to reframe how we view human value in the future of work and school.
Okay, how so?
The dynamic we are entering is not humans versus machines. It is humans working with AI versus humans working without AI.
That distinction changes everything.
It really does, because AI is incredibly efficient at the raw cognitive labor of summarizing, drafting, formatting, organizing. But offloading that labor doesn't make humans obsolete. It simply forces human value to relocate further up the chain.
Right, because if anyone with an internet connection can generate a perfectly formatted, grammatically flawless memo in 3 seconds, then formatting and grammar are no longer scarce, valuable skills.
Exactly. The new premium in the marketplace is on evaluation, judgment, taking responsibility, and knowing what is actually worth creating in the first place.
So the AI can generate 10 different marketing strategies or 10 different essays, but it doesn't know which one is genuinely compelling.
Right. You still have to have the human taste to know which idea is actually good. You move from being the person who merely executes the task, typing the words, formatting the cells, to being the director of the task.
Like a movie director.
Yeah, a film director doesn't hold the camera, they don't apply the makeup, they rarely write every line of the script. They hold the vision, they guide the experts, and they evaluate the outputs. That is the future of the knowledge worker.
But a completely frictionless world comes with a hidden psychological trap. And this brings us to what the sourcebook calls the weird part of the AI era.
This is where things get really fascinating.
Yeah, what happens when the machine goes from being a collaborative tool to an emotional crutch?
Well, we're already seeing the early stages of this. Millions of people are using AI chatbots as therapists, as close friends, or as late-night companions to stave off loneliness.
Which feels a little dystopian.
It does, but the mechanical reason it works so well is that AI perfectly simulates attention. For human beings, attention is one of the most powerful and validating emotional currencies we possess.
Because the AI has infinite context and infinite patience.
Right, so it creates incredibly smooth, confident, empathetic-sounding answers. It remembers what you told it last week. It asks how you're feeling. That breeds a false sense of reliability and a genuine emotional connection.
But I want to push back on this a little. Because humans have always attached themselves to non-human things.
Sure.
Like children project intense personalities onto their stuffed animals. Adults name their cars and talk to them. We routinely cry over fictional characters in movies who we know perfectly well are actors on a soundstage.
Right, that's true.
So why is forming an attachment to an artificial intelligence so uniquely dangerous compared to, like, a teddy bear?
Because a stuffed animal doesn't talk back to you. A movie has a set script. It doesn't dynamically adapt its plot to flatter your specific insecurities. What is fascinating and deeply concerning is the danger of an infinitely agreeable machine. Real human growth and real emotional resilience requires friction.
Friction in relationships meaning, like, misunderstandings, pushback, compromise.
Exactly. When you interact with real people, you encounter disappointment. You have to navigate their bad moods. You have to apologize when you overstep, and you have to repair the connection.
It's messy.
It's very messy. But that messy, difficult process is how we build emotional maturity. Because an AI companion seamlessly adapts to your preferences, never gets tired, and always responds with infinite validation, it removes that necessary friction.
So the threat isn't just that people are talking to machines in their bedrooms.
No.
The systemic threat is that real, complex human relationships might start to feel too difficult, too demanding, and too exhausting by comparison.
Exactly. We could easily get addicted to the smoothness of the machine. A real human friend might look at you and say, hey, you're in the wrong here. You need to apologize.
Right. The AI, optimized for user engagement, will just validate your feelings and tell you that you are justified.
A system designed to keep you interacting with it will rarely challenge your core flaws the way a true friend would. It provides the sensation of companionship without any of the actual demands of friendship.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
They really have.
And what this all means for you, navigating this shift, is that the old human advantage, the ability to hoard information, memorize facts, and perfectly format outputs, is gone. Intelligence has been compressed into a text box and democratized. The future belongs to those directors of intelligence.
Right. The individuals who will thrive are the ones who actively think with the AI rather than passively asking it to think for them.
Yeah.
They will combine the raw speed and scale of the machine with human judgment, refined taste, and moral responsibility.
But I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've explored today about a frictionless world.
Okay.
If AI makes generating ideas and executing tasks completely effortless, what happens to our internal mental endurance?
Yeah.
Like if a future generation never has to stare at a blank page, never has to feel that agonizing frustration of trying to articulate a complex thought, and never has to wrestle with their own messy ideas, will they lose the internal grit that is actually required to develop uniquely human taste in the first place?
It's a great question. If the machine is always there to do the heavy lifting the moment we feel stuck, do our cognitive muscles atrophy before they ever get a chance to develop?
Exactly. We started today talking about the surreal reality of waking up in a world where everyone is talking to machines and the machines are talking back. But the real danger isn't that the algorithms learn to simulate our voices perfectly.
Right?
The danger is that, in the warm comfort of that completely frictionless conversation, we might eventually forget how to use our own.